looking for something. A new way, a new understanding, a connection, some comfort. You've got questions, and Light on Living puts the spotlight on all the answers so you can shine. Lift and lighten the load of life's challenges and learn simple and easy ways to live a healthy, happy life. You'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you. You're invited to hear new, see different, and feel more as Lisa shines the light on living.
Yippee! Yay, everyone! Welcome and hello. Welcome to Light on Living. I'm your host, Lisa Berry, and I'm extra excited. Can you hear it? You know, I think July is like one of the most fun months to kick off because we have the Canada Day, July 1st, and then we have our wonderful American Happy Yay July 4th Day. And I don't know, I still think I'm a little bit high from all this fun stuff. But it also signifies a really, really cool month because we are featuring two incredible anthologies, compilation books this month alone. So we're going to be delivering you so many, oh my goodness, from strategies to inspiring stories to just support and help through pretty much any obstacle that you are looking at, that you're going, what is this giant thing in my way? The question I kind of have for both the series, which will announce everything coming up here, is who is living without success in their life? I think that question right there is what almost everybody wants to, that's why people want to share their stories, because they've identified, they're feeling it, they're identified and feeling an area in their life that they are just like, I am living without success here, and there's no reason. I'm making up these reasons. These are my beliefs, and I want to get there. I want to get to that other side, which we call success. And the fun thing is, guess what? You get to do it all throughout your life. It never goes away. You're always going to have a new obstacle. And what all of these authors have done is shared their obstacle, and you might just relate and go, you know what? That's exactly what I'm facing. Or you might say, there's a piece of something very valuable in their story and how they overcame it that I could use. So the first anthology compilation book we are going to be featuring, and this is a big kickoff, is titled Obstacles Equal Opportunities. I love that. Like, you want to welcome the obstacles and say, yes, thank you. This is going to be an opportunity. I just know it. Well, this is volume 2, The Enlightened Journey. And this is compiled by Heather Andrews. Now, you've heard me say her name a bunch of times. I know, and you probably all know her. She's that popular these days, and she's just growing and growing. We've done her books before, What Self-Love Got to Do with It. We will be doing many more books in the future. And I just want to share with you how busy she is. The first part of this show, what we're featuring, I'm gonna highlight Heather. I want to thank Heather. I know that all of her co-authors are so grateful, thankful, excited, happy, just feeling really connected to Heather because she's really, she just has this way of attracting the right people who to come together in a book, and that's why they call it a compilation. Heather compiled these authors. It's not like anybody and everybody can just go into these books. They put together and they have this living energy. And so every reader and now every listener who gets to read that book and tune in and listen to these authors and have them share their stories and the way they've come out of it. There's always that light that we're looking for. She just has a way of doing that. So I want to read to you Heather's little bio here and share a little bit about her. She couldn't be here with us on this particular time, which is actually just goes to show how she's out there doing her passion. She's so booked up. Month of July is really busy for artists, I think. I think it's a very creative, that sun delivering all the information so hot in the sky. It's just beautiful. So here's a little bit about Heather Andrews. She's visibility strategist. Oh, I like that. Publisher, of course, and 6 times international best-selling author. Heather Andrews helps her clients share their story with the world by publishing their works online and offline. That's so important, and I'm going to just be popping through her bio because, you know what, you need both. I remember saying, I need a digital copy. I got to be able to read this here. And then I love marking in my book. So it's great to do offline and online. Heather believes we all have a story to share to help inspire others by publishing their works in books and podcasts, which you're listening to now. With her publishing company and podcast agency, tenacious living. She has published over 80 authors in 1 year. 80 authors in 1 year, and there's just so much more to come. And she's interviewed over 60 individuals to be seen and heard with the power of their story. I love that. That's just a beautiful reminder. It is powerful. And as a speaker, Heather inspires audiences by sharing her challenges and the survival strategies that continue to help her optimize adversity. Being a voice in self-discovery and revitalization, she is making a positive difference. She believes in the power of reinvention and helps inspire others to do the same. And everybody, Heather's out in Alberta. She's had some fun weekend. You got to check out her Facebook page. She's always sharing something. She's always doing something. And I don't know how she has way more to do than I do, I think. There you go. And what I want to share with Heather, she's actually written in many of her books. She has her chapter. And she really started out from, her life being restructured. Like, she was in the healthcare career, and her career wasn't in healthcare, and she had been there for 20 years and climbing that corporate ladder. And then there's something that was inside of her just wanting to do something more and wanting to do something more and something so different. It takes a lot of courage. And you'll have to read her chapter because she goes in and really shares, I think, what a lot of women, especially become moms, have to go through. But providing, and I mean, if we have divorce or whether we have marriages to work on or we're single and we've never, every level you've got to be dealing with what your personal life is, and then trying to grow a business after being in the corporate world for so long. It's an incredible story. What I love in her chapter here, I'm gonna read this little part here, is she shares the final paragraph from her original book that she wrote in Obstacles. This is volume 2, so in the volume 1. Oh, I'm just trying to find it here because I love what she's done, her lessons learned. Everybody, when you get this book, so make sure you pick up this book. It's Obstacles Equals Opportunity, because at every end of the chapter, there is the mindset tips, the strategies, and a place to write, and you can really, and the lessons that were learned. I think it's a really nice way that it was laid out, that after you go through reading somebody's emotional story, and, generally really happy ending, happy middle, not happy ending, happy middle, that you start thinking, okay, wait, how can I apply this? How can I use this? And I think that Heather Andrews really gives you the space to do that. She shares in this chapter that of the last words of my chapter in Obstacle Equals Opportunity, volume 1, and I'm going to read that here, where the journey isn't over. No way. I'm so driven to get to the next level that I can be a bit impatient along the way. Sometimes I'm curious about whether I'm really making the right decisions. Ooh. There are days when frustration wins over optimism, but I don't get stuck in that place anymore. So huge. We're going to go back on this. I know how to keep moving. Heather Andrews isn't a job title. I stand for the opportunity to live a better life. I am all about integrity, self-respect, and finding value in oneself. I know who I am, and I'm fully at peace with Heather. What, oh my gosh, I love reading that so much. And I forgot even to say at the beginning that Light on Living is about giving you reasons to feel better. So I love that I just read that. Thanks for the reminder. See, she wrote that just for me. But I love that she says that. It's never over. You're going to be impatient, but that just means you're passionate and you want to get things, you want to experience it. There's doubt along the way. Are you really making the right decision? If you're making it and it feels good, feeling good and feeling right are a little bit different. There is frustration even when it feels good, but you don't get stuck. I love that she said, just don't get stuck. Keep on moving. And my favorite part here with Heather Andrews isn't a job title. Your name can be a brand. We weren't taught to do that, but it's not your job title, and you learn and grow and get to change and become different things all along the way. I want to share with you Heather's cliffhanger before we bring on our guest shortly next. So I love this. Her cliffhanger in this was, in the first quarter of this year, her company, we've already brought on 40 new clients. That means, by the way, we get 40 new chapters, or books actually. And the cliffhanger here, the foundation is set with new support systems in place. You guys, you need a support system. I love this new word that I'm just obsessed with. It's called realistic support. we have our dream support, but then there's the realistic support it's real. It's really there. It's realistic. We can do this. So when you get your foundation and get your support systems in place to whatever obstacles you are turning into opportunities, okay? And the Get You Visible brand has been added. Ooh, I love that. Get You Visible. You know what? Sometimes we want to shy away, but if you've taken the time, you have a story, and you've written it, you do want to be visible. And so I love that about her. More cliffhangers. Our monthly events are being planned in different locations across North America. That's good. We just love enjoying and connecting with everybody. We are signing on new partners to support growth and increase speaking opportunities. And right now, I'm certainly doing my speaking chair here. With her company, we are collaborating on visibility strategies for entrepreneurs with Juju Business Builders President Christopher Darrell. And thank you, Crystal. Shout out to Christopher for liking the post and being a part of this whole interview series. Great to have you. We are forecasted to generate, ready guys, over $1 million in revenue this year. What? Oh, yay, I want to clap. You know what? That just means that we care. We're voting with our dollars. I like saying that. We're putting our money where our passions are and where we really can uplift and help people. And we are starting to plan how to be the next Hay House. Oops, hope Hay House doesn't hear that. You know what? It's always good to have mentors. I love that. And much success is on its way. And so as I just share with you about Heather Andrews, I mean, I love sharing that she had this dream. She didn't know where it was going to start and how it was going to go, and she just follows her heart. And I think that we all do that. I'm so very happy to be in one of Heather's upcoming books. It's going to be titled Balance. What's balance got to do with it? I love that. And it's an exciting time to not feel alone suddenly and to have people care and come together. And so, Heather, thank you so much for this. We are going to be running this interview series for all the Mondays of July here. And we have 3 authors coming on just this time alone. We've stretched our regular hour show to 2 hours in a row. Always catch the replay. And I love that they're in half-hour increments because you can really get to know these co-authors. My first co-author that I'll be bringing on shortly, I have to just say, because Heather wasn't able to come here, which is great. We love that she can't because she's busy. Oh, right. Is that with our next guest, she has the most, I don't want to say shocking, but it's almost like so her life is so different and so that, not a lot of people get to do. She's actually a very unique lady that even her solo book, 30 Years Behind Bars, if that kind of gives you a little bit of a tip to stay on. It's just an incredible story and her incredible lessons and what she's shared. So I'm going to bring her on in a minute. I'm going to read her bio for you and introduce her. But just to let everybody know, keep coming back every Monday. We're from 12 till 2, and they're in 2 one-hour shows, but every guest a half hour. And we're going to really teach you those things that are going to help you really say, yeah, this is an obstacle, and I want it to be an opportunity. So allow me, I'm so excited. I am going to bring on my first guest, and she is just incredible, Karen Gedney, Dr. Karen Gedney, and 30 Years Behind Bars, yes, but will Jailbreak set you free? And this is going to be so surprising for you. She's a female prison doctor, and she shares where compassion is surprisingly found. Karen Gedney, Corps Scholarship winner. She was placed in a male medium security prison after her training to do a 4-year payback in 1987. Against all the odds, she turned it into a calling that lasted almost 3 decades. There's your 30 years. She was given the Nevada's Hero for Humanity Award in year 2000 for her work as a pioneer in HIV care in correctional settings. Karen was also recognized by the American Correctional Association as one of the best in the business. On leaving the prison in 2016, Karen dedicated her life as a catalyst to shift the current prison paradigm to one of prevention, healing, and reintegration. Her first book is her memoir, 30 Years Behind Bars, Trials of a Prison Doctor, and is available on her website and on Amazon. But I want to welcome Karen. Welcome. I'm so incredibly excited to have you here.
Thank you, Lisa, for giving me the opportunity.
Oh my goodness. I read your chapter. I don't even know how you would capture all of that in that, but so you did a fabulous job.
Yeah, it's a little hard to write a chapter and get across 30-year experience. That's why I first did the memoir.
Yes. Oh, that probably helped you sift and sorted through some of those key points that you.
I think that the biggest thing, writing a memoir is almost like a individual psychotherapy session for oneself. And then when someone asks, well, okay, how would you look at what obstacles particularly did you face? It's easier to, let's say, pull it together for someone else.
That's right. And when I was reading, something's going to jump out differently to them. First of all, the fact that you could, I don't want to say stick it out because it was your journey, and that you don't look at life like you're sticking it out. But 30 years is like you use your own sentence in a neat way, but a loving sentence, like to know that you were making difference. Before you knew you were making a difference, how did you get through the first week, the first month, the first year, without having that knowing that, yes?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I had a 4-year commitment. So I knew that if I, let's say things got tough in the first 4 years and I tried to get out of it, actually the National Health Corps would not have been happy. I could have been fined. If I left and said, there's no way I'm going to work for you, I could go to prison or jail myself. I mean, there were major, let's just say there were major obstacles to just throwing in the towel. And plus I had a German mother. I mean, I had German parents, and the thought of ever throwing in the towel because things got tougher, that would have been absolutely unacceptable. That wasn't in their fiber. My mother was a survivor in Germany of prisoner of war camps and freezing and starving and every imaginable thing you could imagine during all her formative years growing up. And, she was not Jewish at all. She just happened to be a young girl caught on the bad side of Germany, where the Russians came in.
You know what, Karen, I know this isn't about your mom, but I just have to ask this question. That is like, wow, I didn't know that even from talking with you before, but how, like, that's an obstacle. And she got through and then got married and then had you.
Right, and she also, and this is interesting, I think, because it dovetails a little bit of both of us in that when she was a young girl in Germany, she had read those Louis Amour, books about the West and the freedom in the United States and cowboys and Indians. She told me she always envisioned that's the way the United States looked like. And of course, when her world was torn apart, and she truly was a refugee, a Flüchtling, it's actually in German, where no country, no one wants you. She thought, I'm going to America. It was based on a book. She was very disappointed when she was in Ellis Island and did not see cowboys and Indians. She was very disappointed. But my mother really, fit with the United States, that ability to not have highly authoritarian figures dictating your life. But here, that book propelled her. And when I was a kid, I was an introvert and I lived way out in the country, but I would read books, and somehow I got very enamored with Frank G. Slaughter's books, who was a surgeon who wrote about doctors all throughout history, all fictionalized and romanticized, where these doctors protected people against abuses of power and healed them and used medicine and science and had intrigue and romance and adventure. And when I was a kid, an introverted kid living way out in the Booneyvilles, in upstate New York, I thought, that's what I want to be. And I made that decision at 9 years old, and I never turned back. And then look what happened to me. I ended up in a male prison.
Yes, that was like, that is so fascinating. Here you are reading specifically a doctor, that's crazy. Oh, there's something.
Yeah, and I was a voracious reader when I was young, because in retrospect, I did not know I was so highly nearsighted, and neither did my parents. So the only thing I could see was a few inches from my face, and they always wondered, why does that kid not get her face out of a book? And that's because I really couldn't see anything more than a few feet in front of me.
Right, but it must have had an impact too, you think. And then you loved it. You were able to just, you block everything else out. You're just focused right on the story and
right. And I lived in the story, and I lived, and I envisioned, and as a young girl, what do I envision? I envisioned taking care of males. I didn't envision myself taking care of women or babies. Right. You see what I mean? Either.
Yes.
So, I mean, it was that vision of taking care of males. Like in his stories, he was, taking care of people, but in my little hormonal brain, I was taking care of men, like cowboys and Indians, you see.
Like cowboys and Indians. I love that thread of it. And so when you first, it was a 4-year payback is what you shared. So you went to school, and in order to pay back your school loans, they said you have to, work for us. Then it's like a barter.
Right. Correct.
Okay. And did they are the ones who chose to put you in the correctional
Yeah, they're
system?
the ones who said you're going to prison. And it was, I had been a chief resident of an internal medicine program in Reno, Nevada. And initially they were like, well, we've got to find a place for you. And there was really nothing in Nevada. And they first sent me, I first went to Chicago and Cincinnati, because I went to medical school in Cincinnati, to look at these inner cities. In fact, they initially sent me to Cabrini Green in Chicago to look at it. And I didn't even know Cabrini Green was like a war zone. I mean, I'm just walking around in there in really a bad area. Could have got myself killed. But I came back and they said, we've got a new spot in Nevada and they need a doc. And I was, great, where?
Yeah.
And they said prison. And I was like, what? But it was a choice sort of between staying in Nevada, which I love because it's near Lake Tahoe and I was a skier and everything else, or go to an inner city in Chicago where people had told me, they'll kill you for sure here. So I figured, Cabrini or prison?
Geez, that's not tough. And how old were you at that time?
I was 30 because you go through, 4 years of college and then 4 years of med school and then 3 or 4 years of internal medicine. And by then you're 30 years old.
Wow. But you're still, I've seen you in your pictures. You're a tough little cookie though, but you're a little cookie. And you've learned to develop this. Now, I love what you wrote in the chapter, and I have to pull this out because you said prisons are designed to incarcerate, punish, and shame. They are not oriented to understand healing or to give them hope. Like, that was so strong to me when I read that. It made me really sad at first. And I'm so glad that you exist to do that. But when you wrote that, like, why are they, like, here you go, you're a doctor in prison, and you were hoping to help and heal.
Right, and that was really opposite their mission. And I think one of the obstacles I wanted to get people to understand is people, whether in their lives or their work or whatever they are, they might have their own mission in their mind. And if you are thrown into an area which has the exact opposite, which is what happened to me, you've got a choice. Some people choose to lose. Some people choose to just whine and complain all the time. And then some people choose to do whatever it is to change it, see if they can change it, bend it toward the light instead of the dark.
Aww.
And that was something that attracted me and made me want to stay. And also, I had some power as a physician. You know, I wasn't just a solitary, uneducated guard. I mean, a custody officer only has 6 weeks of training. And so that would be much harder for them to bend it. That doesn't mean they can't add light, but they didn't have technically the power I did. And that's also something in life where you have power in different lanes, and how you use it is really up to you.
That is very interesting. I love that you say that about, we talk about self-empowerment and find your power and stand in your power. The way you're using it is very unique. As you're saying, your skill set and what you're trained in, what your title bears does provide
to me,
you
it's
with,
the power to protect. You know, you see, it's the power to protect, the power to inspire. I mean, many people are very attracted to power based far more on narcissism and themselves, and they like to promote that they will get money and fame and people will come to them and all this sort of stuff. And that is actually something that never interested me. This is also why I have a tremendously hard time with promoting myself on social media, because that just is not my thing. As an introvert, it's like annoying.
Yes. Well, you know, actually, it's
really.
funny, but yes, and you know what, I noticed that you with social media, but you know what, I am glad that you are here on very special guest here on a Light on Living. When we come back, so we're going to go to commercials, I would love for you, because of your saying about that, I would love for you to share about how important training is. And you just mentioned even now that, you know, some guards only have 6 hours, but I think that people really need to understand the value of not just hanging around and hoping and wishing, but there is training involved and how important that is. So we'll sneak away to commercial, but we'll be back in just a couple minutes, everybody. We are interviewing Karen Gedney.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization. Their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millicers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance. Say hi, guys. When I adopted them, I discovered that they both have incredible personalities. Chance's sole purpose in life is to love and to be loved. Frankie is a little bit of a scoundrel and always entertaining. They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
Oh, welcome back, everybody. We are just continuing on this lovely conversation. I can't wait to share all these stories here, but we are interviewing co-authors from the book, Obstacles Equal. The reason why I want to talk to you specifically about training, because I feel that without all of those years of training and kind of having a foundation of not what to do, but how to handle things, because you went through some pretty intense, scary things in your beginnings, that training was really necessary. Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, I'll say this about my training. In medicine, first of all, I'm oriented to think a certain way, but in internal medicine, you're oriented to think and look at the whole picture of a patient, not just, oh, you have a heart attack, I'm going to slip a stent in your artery. You're looking at the whole person in regards to, okay, what put you at risk? What were the lifestyle choices that put you in this situation? Now that you have this situation, what kind of treatment would best be for you, and what would you be willing to truly go through? Because that is between the person. And then afterwards, what would the support and reintegration of those things so you don't end up getting a procedure done and then go back to your cheeseburgers and fries and milkshakes immediately and sit on the couch and watch, I don't know, TV for hours at length. So that type of holistic picture I was trained in than most doctors, and also the whole psyche of the person to have them buy into the treatment. The other thing is compassion is something that you can try to teach to people, but I would say that a lot of it is what you really by personality have, and also by upbringing. And I think that the things that put people at risk for not being compassionate is what I would consider more of a fixed, rigid mindset, which is more likely to judge someone than be oriented to try to understand or be curious about someone. Someone who is oriented to it's black or it's white. There is no in between. Someone who has a hierarchy where everything flows from top down. And those people who are oriented and grow up in those environments and trained in those environments many times are at more risk for being less compassionate. Plus, I think to understand compassionate, you truly have to experience compassion yourself.
Receive it. Yes.
And receive it. And if people never have, it is very difficult because they are truly on a 100% survival mode. And compassion, I look at from a definition, it's the ability to try to understand and then take action to truly relieve someone's suffering. That's how I look at compassion. And
I love your definition. I love that you've added that take action part. It's one thing to have understanding, like that's that person or something.
And a lot of people look at compassion as empathy. No, empathy is trying to understand. Compassion is actually doing something about it. Like I could have been in the prison and had empathy for the inmates and really never went outside my boundary. Like I was a good doctor and that'd be it. But no, I saw their suffering where I saw what they needed. And to me, what I saw they needed is a lot of them had never had anybody who believed in them, no one who ever gave them hope, never anyone who really took the time to mentor or teach them. They had many had poor, what I would consider life skills in terms of stress management, anger management, relationship issues, financial literacy, ability to communicate. I mean, the list would go on forever.
Oh, my gosh.
And I created, as a volunteer in the evening after working all my hours, a course called Health-Related Recovery, but it really was a life skills course. And initially, one of the custody officers actually many years ago who had a Vietnam veterans incarcerated group, he said, man, you know, I was a Navy SEAL and we got these Vietnam vets and they've got issues with addiction and you're a doctor. Could you help do a substance abuse class? You know, and I thought, wait a second, I'm not an addict. My thought was, stupidly, that because I was not an addict and I had been trained, there's AA, you know, and that people could only relate if they had been addicts. When I thought that to myself, I thought, that what kind of medical training is it that I have to think that I have to be an addict to help other addicts? What they need is to be exposed to someone who has no problems with addiction and try to and realize what was it in my life and in my thinking and my behavior that put me in that position where I don't have problems with addiction. You see what I mean? So I had this whole turnaround in the way I thought.
So interesting. And thank goodness. And, it's right because you didn't have to have a heart attack to know how to be compassionate and take action with someone who had a heart attack. It's like, hey, I'm not at risk for heart attacks, and let me show you why. And now this is not to discount, it's not to discount people who suffer from it, then want to turn around and help people, but it's to think that only that group knows or can be a benefit is what limits the whole picture. Yes, and you're opening that circle. It's many people who can do this. When those people, so you're there and you're going day in, day out, and you're treating them medically, and you're connecting, and you're seeing, and now you've been asked even to, so did you say yes, by the way, to taking on and helping them?
Yeah. No, I did the addiction classes, but then in the addiction classes, I even joined the Addiction Medical Society, and I went to their big national meetings, and I realized when I showed up, I was the only doctor who was technically not an addict.
Oh,
really?
My goodness.
Wow. And then when I talked with them, they had joined it because that was what should I say, that sort of nudged them or pushed them into belonging to that, because they had restrictions on licenses or they had to jump through certain hoops and here I am, and I thought, this is really sort of odd. And I suppose it's almost like you go to, I don't know, an obese convention, and you're the only person who actually never suffered from obesity.
Right.
See what I mean?
Yes. Yes,
but
I
that
do.
person has something a lot to offer the other people. You see what I mean?
Exactly. And funny you bring that up, of course, because 20 years as a holistic nutritionist, I started out in weight loss, and I was always been a smaller person. So I absolutely, I love that you shared that. When you went through that, so in these 30 years, the obstacles, I want to bring up some of the obstacles that you faced. And one of them, I love that you share, and I'm going to quote this again. I love quoting from your books here, because this was an obstacle that you had to come up with and really turn it into an opportunity. And the quote that I'm reading is, I thought I was good at controlling my emotions, but what I was good at was disconnecting myself from emotions that I did not want to feel. And then they came out, though, in the disguise of irritation, frustration, and a reduced immune system to colds. I actually kind of chuckled when you said that, because I thought, that is annoying, actually. It was so intense, and I went, oh, it's a cold. And you are so right. And then that's how sometimes we think, like, getting the odd or a repeating cold or virus or sleep, little problems, we brush them off and we put them away. But you're sharing that this was really you disconnecting from yourself.
Right. And
not controlling.
What happened to me that caused me to realize, I have to get over this obstacle. I had a very traumatic event in 1989 on Friday the 13th, where I was taken hostage by an inmate who had been damaged, let's say, in Vietnam, and was a Marine, and was life without ability to ever leave prison. And he became attached to me, and I did not realize how attached. And he wanted to die. It's sort of a death by cop. He could not stand his life anymore. I could not give him what he would desire, and therefore I had to be punished, and he wanted to die. And so he took me hostage. And I was held hostage for over 10 hours, and in the middle of it, I was raped and assaulted. And they got me out with SWAT teams, concussion grenades. They killed them a few feet from me. And because of my German upbringing, I just, I was, of course, traumatized on different levels, but I just went back to work on Monday and sought no help or didn't get checked out. People, the EMTs who showed up, like, they wanted to take me to the hospital. I'm like, no, get away from me.
You didn't even go to... Now, I have to stop here because people have to read the chapter, but you do share this very publicly. Because you at that time, that you just said in the 1980s, you just shared you had been raped, and you were also dealing with a very high percentage of all these inmates having HIV.
Right, that's true. Now, here's what's wild. I knew he didn't have it because all the inmates had been tested in 1985. Okay. So they had all been tested. So I knew he didn't have it. He also, on the medical records, had been had a vasectomy. You see? Right. See, so I knew medically that I did not technically have to worry about HIV or pregnancy. Now, mind you, could he have been infected in the prison during his 2 years? Yes, but highly, highly unlikely. So, but the biggest thing was after everything happened to me, the hostage and the assault, I didn't tell anybody. You see what I mean? I didn't tell anybody because I was still in shock and I wasn't ready to tell anybody.
Right.
And plus, I grew up where you just handle your own stuff, right? And I was an introvert. So all these different things. So I did not tell my husband until maybe 3 weeks later. And I know. And he said he just, that was bad, but he just held me and said, I know. But that was it.
Yeah.
But
there was sympathy. I mean, not the compassion to do. Yes, I just
right.
There.
And he didn't. He didn't know what to do, and he didn't really know what to say. And also he had been a Vietnam vet himself and a platoon leader and had been shot in Vietnam, and he had his own issues. But one thing he knew more than anything was that in war, men were rapists. When they had nothing to lose and the control and everything. And he knew it really had nothing to do with sex for the most part in war. It was anger, and control. Right.
Emotions are so powerful.
Right. So he knew that, and then also he knew a tremendous amount of Vietnamese women who, let's say, became prostitutes just to help their families. So he had a different understanding, I think, than a lot of men who don't grow up. Well, who don't experience war like that.
Right. And you had mentioned, too, that's part of the...
My husband told me that this guy had never come home from the war, that he was a bush vet, because when I told him earlier about how this guy was saying certain things to me, my husband warned me. He said, be careful. He's a bush vet. He's never come back from the war. And so you can imagine, he warned me, and then it happened. So I also felt guilty and stupid on top of it.
And that's a lot. So how have you come through? So 30, it says in 2000, when did you leave?
I left in 2016. I retired. It was time for me to go, and that's a whole different story. But I'd really done a good 30 years in the prison as a state worker. And then it becomes a lot of different reasons why. If you stay longer, one, you don't financially benefit. You're sort of working for free. Plus, I would have stayed and worked for free, basically, if the prison had not swung toward the dark again. And it was like, this is not good anymore. the time is right for me to go and then try to do something on the outside.
Oh, right, which you are, and we won't talk about that. And I want to share this one thing. This is huge, and you just even mentioned slightly there, but swinging to the dark. There was a word that came up, and you talked about it in your chapter. And I think we all have to deal with this in lives. And it's funny that this is why you don't do social media, perhaps, but you talk about rumors. And I know this is a big thing here, but there's a fear with rumors, because there's a lot of things that can happen. We can get punished for things that we haven't done. We can make allies that we shouldn't be making. We could make enemies that we shouldn't be making. Can you share how rumors can actually be one of the biggest obstacles for us, and how we can turn them around into an opportunity?
Well, at least for me, the rumors or what people said about me had everything to do with their perspective of the fact that I was oriented to heal, and if they were oriented to punish, then I was a liability. And if I was a liability, in their mind, everything I did that was not in the punishment arena, there would be rumors around, like, oh my God, do you see the doctor now? Not only did she start a class to help them out, now she's starting a Toastmasters class. And then there's this mindset that if you do something positive, oh, she must like the inmates. She must be doing something with the inmates. And, oh, my God, do you see she brought her husband in to speak in the prison? And, my God, he's a black guy. And that means she's going to give preferential treatment to black men. I mean, it just went on and on and on. And the thing is, you can get very annoyed and frustrated with those sorts of things. But in my mind, I learned very early that my worth was not based on what they said about me. And that I grew up where my mother and father, in a German way, always were saying, consider the source. Is the source someone you highly respect? And then if they say something, maybe you should stop and think. But if these people are, let's say, very narrow-minded, misogynistic, racist, or whatever label you like to put on them, and they say things, then consider the source, and then also be compassionate and understand that these people have never left their state of Nevada, have never interacted with anyone except their narrow group, and live in an echo chamber where anything else scares them.
Right.
So,
and when we are not exposed to that.
When you're not exposed. I grew up in upstate New York. It's sort of funny. I only had one black girl. Well, only one black person in my class of 450. In fact, I still remember her name, Trudy Wright, because she was the only girl in my high school class that took physics with me. And her father was a minister in the area. You see what I mean? And I still remember her name, but the only one.
Oh, I'll have to do a little hello to her. Oh my goodness. Now, you actually have had some interest, like talking about people showing up in your life and remembering them. There is somebody who really remembered you, and you got to read about this. Can you share that story about this lovely inmate man?
Well, I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, because so many people run into me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, about the poem, because I'd love to share the poem.
Oh, okay. Yes, all right. So what what you're referring to is that in the end of my chapter, I include a poem, but what happened was last year I went to Las Vegas, and they had a poetry and creative writing exhibition for Sean Griffin, who's the poet laureate for the state of Nevada, where he taught poetry and writing to the inmates. And I knew that this emotional outlet for the inmates was very, very helpful for them in their development. Now, when I went to this event, I picked up, he had brought old books with him. Every year he published poems from the inmates. And I picked up a book that was from 1992. Now, mind you, this is last year. And I found this poem that said, Ode to a Lady Doctor. And that inmate in 92 wrote a poem about me. And I, here I am like 20 odd years later, basically reading it. And I thought, good God, I should put that in the book.
Oh, and you'd play this important role. Now, I would love to read this poem if I may. And it's on, his name is Stephen Fogarty.
Yes, Stephen Fogarty, yeah.
Yeah, Fogarty, yes. And what a shock to be able to read. And you wonder, sometimes we all might wonder, what am I doing? What that I'm doing is making a difference. Am I making a difference? Am I changing one person's life? And this is why I'm so glad that you included it. And so I will share this. And it is, I love the title, Ode to a Lady Prison Doctor. Through white light, burning bright and soft, the kind of a man sees, perched on the edge of eternity, steps fine, angel-haired Madonna, with body-mending hands and a heart-healing spirit. Into a world dark with deprivation, she cries, weighted and shackled by the pain of a place where never she belonged. Oh,
yeah, and it was highly touching to me, Lisa, because Stephen Fogarty, he was a bit of a tortured soul, and he had left prison, and he ended up dying outside the prison. So to pick this book up and see what he had written that I never knew, about was emotional, actually. And I run into people, I run into ex-felons all the time. In fact, when you said that, I thought that maybe I had told you that one of the ex-felons contact me through LinkedIn, because I do have a little LinkedIn thing regarding my book. And he basically contacted me and said, hey, Dr. Gedney, do you remember me from 1993 when he was, in his 20s? He did 3 years. But he said, hey, Dr. Gedney, I wrote a memoir, Mayhem, A Life, and you're in it. And I was like, so of course I had to buy the book and read what he told us, what he said about me. But also what was incredibly wild is that he came into the prison with a GED, no other education, ultimately became a nuclear medicine technician, a highly paid technical medical spot, then became an author and an artist, and he learned fine art from the guy in the prison who did the illustrations in my book. Now that is a real serendipitous event, right?
Yes.
That we found this out.
Wow, that is, I love that. And so actually, this is a great place to share this, is that you do get on stage and share with people and talk with people and teach people. So I know you mentioned, it's hard to, you don't want to just promote the way that everybody else is promoting. You're very introvert, but I would love for you to let us know what groups who do you like to speak for?
Well, I like to speak for any group that is interested in compassion, prison reform, actually overcoming adversities. Now, I have spoken at service groups. I've spoken at book clubs. I've spoken at lobbying, political lobbying groups. I speak at colleges. And I do this, and this, I hate to say this, because people think I'm an idiot, but I don't get paid for this. You know what I mean? This is not how I generate income.
You have service.
And I'm oriented towards service. And my mission is really to take the power of the personal story and just inspire people to think about a particular, this arena, this prison reform stuff in a different way.
Yes.
And I really think,
I would like
because
to
mass
welcome
incarceration, is there's so many things related to mass incarceration and the criminal justice system that I was clueless when I started. And I think that the people who can best speak to it are people who really lived it. But there is very little voice coming from the medical arena. I mean, I was the only female doc who ever wrote a book about the prison. You see
I do want to invite people
from
to read that, because we're running out. I'm going to have to say goodbye, which I hate to say goodbye.
Okay.
I talk to you forever, but I do want to invite everybody to Discover, DRG, Discover Doctor, and that's for your last name. It's Karen Gedney. You've got to check her out. You've got to just check out the book, the first one, the 30 Years Behind Bars, or you pick up this book, because then you could read her chapter and just start there. So this is Obstacles, Equal Opportunities. It is volume 2, and you'll find Karen there. And thank you so much, Karen. I knew I would just talk to you for hours and hours, but I thank you for sharing your story and your compassion and everything, your time with us.
Right, and I encourage people, if they just want to look at a website, discoverdrg.com. Because then you can see things like blogs and where I've spoken, media and things like that.
Okay, perfect. www.discoverdrg.com. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Okay, bye, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Tune in to The Practical Intuitive, Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World with me, host Robin Fritz, Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern. I'll cover personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice, and more, all to help you tap your own intuitive and healing skills. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Mind connected to the heart, connected to the love, connected to the soul. I'm connected to you, connected to me, connected to us.
The Connection app, the perfect way to get to know your partner, yourself, and love more deeply. Download and join today.
Mind connected to the heart, connected to the love, connected to the soul. I'm connected to you, connected to me.
Mother, Mother Ocean.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Buffett. West Indian manatees are one of the most unique animals on Earth, and we're still finding out so many new things about them. But manatees are endangered, and many of them are killed or injured each year because of watercraft collisions or other human activities. You can help save these gentle marine mammals. For free tips on what you can do, call Save the Manatee Club at 1-800-432-JOIN. Thank you.
This is OTR FM, part of the IOM radio network.
looking for something, a new way, a new understanding, a connection, some comfort. You've got questions, and Light on Living puts the spotlight on all the answers so you can shine. Lift and lighten the load of life's challenges and learn simple and easy ways to live a healthy, happy life. You'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you. You're invited to hear new, see different, and feel more as Lisa shines the light on living.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We are continuing our interview series on Light on Living. We're doing the interview series for Obstacles Equal Opportunities Volume 2. And if you are sticking around because you were with us for the first hour, which we just kicked off, our very first Monday that we're doing for every Monday in July, then you were able to hear some of the most incredible stories from Dr. Karen Gedney and her 30 years in prison as a first female doctor. And so as we continue, you know what, this, as I said, Volume 2 we're doing, and this one's entitled The Enlightened Journey. Enlightened Journey. I love that because we all are on that. And it's how 13 individuals overcame obstacles to create success in their lives. And that's what we are really coming today's. This next guest that we have coming up, our co-author, I love title. I titled this, Become the Master of Your Destiny and Do It Now, because it is something that she writes in her chapter and she tells us all about. And I know that those people right now who are in a corporate job and want to get out, or they're considering one, but they're not sure if that's the route. Maybe they're restarting or just starting out. But this is a very, very interesting show today. So this is really about, would you like to kiss that corporate job that's killing your soul goodbye? Well, pucker up, because Tracy will share how she trains people to kiss your boss goodbye. That's actually her program. So before I bring Tracy on, I am going to just read a little bit about her, and then we're going to just jump into some of these stories. So Tracy initially created the Kiss Your Boss Goodbye book, coaching and online training course to free herself from a corporate job that was killing her soul. Tracy's rediscovery of herself and becoming the master of her own world is fueled by a surprising sequence of events. Her quest for learning, fulfillment, and to have it all make sense, because that's what we all want to do, right? It's got to make sense, was her catalyst to freedom and living her ultimate dream. As a speaker and educator, she provides a powerful combination of the business and personal skills you require to transform your life with confidence. I love that. We all have to have confidence. Actually, I don't talk about that first thing. Well, being an advocate for her self-discovery, personal fulfillment, and standing apart from the crowd, Tracy boldly and candidly shares her years of experience in education and experience. Becoming the master of your destiny does not have to take years. Transformation and freedom are only one decision away. So, Tracy Rickards, hello, and welcome.
Hello. How are you?
I am so good. I love that we're sharing so many of you and your co-authors' stories, but having you live here, it goes deeper than reading the chapter. It really talks about what the personal side of things, of how you used what you used to get to the successful life.
Absolutely. I think that, business skills are what people are looking for, but really it's those personal skills underneath that are the driving factor.
Oh, I like that, because we need them both, and I love it. It's a combination. But I can't remember that word that I wanted to jump on, because I was so excited at that when I read into gosh, I don't remember that word, but that's okay. I love when you talk about your destiny, and personal fulfillment to get there. Can we all have it?
Oh, yes, absolutely, we can.
No matter what.
The first thing is just having a look at what is in your life right now that keeps happening over and over that you either like or you really don't like. A lot of times we're stuck in cycles and patterns that happen over and over. And if we don't have the right mindset, we can just be of the mind of, why does this always happen to me? And that's a victim state of mind. But if we can turn that around into, okay, why does this always happen to me? Take our personal power, we can turn it around into something that we love.
Oh, I love that. There's one thing that you said, personal power. That's a big one. because and I love that you brought that up right now, because one of the things I love that you wrote, it said you had this question, like this almost like a realization, saying maybe no one actually could provide what I needed. I was, after all, the leader and protector. How could anyone respect me if I showed weakness? There's a lot of personal. I'm going to break that down for a second, but tell me why you wrote that and what situation you were in. But really, I'm going to highlight that a lot of us think, if I show weakness in this situation, nobody can respect me, so I have to hold it false, because you can certainly.
That I needed to be someone who I wasn't. I needed to show more strength that I didn't feel I had. I needed to have certain behaviors that weren't really mine and weren't really my style. And so I did that because I felt I needed to fit in, and I couldn't show any weakness, because then it would just prove to everyone that I really didn't deserve all that I had.
Oh,
and that really is the crux of it right there. It was my inner belief that I didn't believe I had strength myself.
Yes, and then you just brought it back around full circle to I didn't.
Always an internal game. It almost always is. So I'm actually writing about this in my blogs right at the moment. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on right now. Everyone's got very strong opinions, one way or another. Politically, on the platform for social change, there's lots of opinions. But I think, and the word that's coming up is offended. I'm offended.
Yes. Let's talk that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and what is this I'm offended thing? And really, what it comes down to for me personally is I'm offended because I am holding a belief that maybe somewhere underneath I don't really believe, or I'm not really strong in. And when someone comes with their opinion against that belief, it's something in me that rises up that feels I need to be defensive about it. And therefore I'm offended. In some areas of my life where I'm much stronger, and I know my beliefs, and I'm certain. I actually don't care what other people have to say. I'm not offended no matter what they say, because I'm strong in my own belief, my own personal power.
Oh. Right. Okay. Okay. Are you Tracy? Are you on speakerphone?
I just took it off.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, great. I love it. You're right. That's tough one. You are actually quick. Oh. Okay. No, we're not here. I wonder if we've got. No. I'm going to unplug. Can you get a moment shot there? All right. You want my cell phone? Yeah. I really want to make sure that everybody can hear. How's that doing? Okay, just because I can't hear what she's saying. What about, is Karen still on the line? No, she's okay. Okay, Tracy, let me drop you and call right back, okay?
Okay, you bet, for sure.
Okay. All right, okay. So with Tracy, I love that I want to say and commend you for being courageous, actually, for writing about something. Like, for me, I guess I'm so afraid of getting into like a fight or an argument, tense, that I sometimes, want to stand in my personal life. I don't think I could even write a blog about, something like that. First of all, what is the name of your blog? I want to direct people to go there.
Oh, it's just simply TracyRickards.com.
Okay, I like that. That makes it easy. Okay. And funny, when you just shared that right now, I'm thinking, because what you said, actually, when you said usually when we are offended, it's because perhaps we're holding a belief that maybe we don't know why or we're not strong in. And it's funny because I was just actually accused of, there's certain words and languages, and I do actually get offended. And I was trying to think, I'm using your tools here and thinking, okay, why am I offended? Am I offended? Am I strong enough in my belief about this and something? And so what if we feel we are strong enough in our belief about something and then we are offended, how do we lighten and lessen and connect still? Well, and that's it's funny when you're talking about offended. I often go, why was this, like, I'm in this cycle again? Why are you recognizing these patterns that aren't making you feel good? But I feel like with you, it's like every time that makes you, something comes up that doesn't make you feel good, you're like, okay, great, opportunity. What can I do? Can you talk about like cycles? What kind of cycles were you going through that, sometimes it takes us forever before we go, we're in that again. How do I get out?
Well, absolutely. And it's not like I was born knowing this stuff. It's only been in the last decade that I've really latched onto it, because I just got so tired of feeling horrible, feeling helpless, and feeling like a fish out of water. And so sometimes we can't see the patterns and cycles in front of our face because we're too close to the situation. And you know how sometimes it's easier to recognize patterns in other people's lives than our own. But it was really when I could be able to detach emotionally, because, unlike Dr. Gedney, who could detach, I wasn't detached. I was firmly immersed in everything. But when I was able to detach just enough to stand back and look at the bigger picture of, okay, what is really going on here? That's when I could really start to see the toxic patterns that would play out. And some of the patterns and cycles would take years to complete. So it's not easy to identify one, if it's a 10-year cycle. Much easier to identify if it's every 90 days.
Yeah. And with a 10-year cycle, let's say, considering, there's a bigger, you got to step back, it's a bigger picture, so much more going on. What do you think about things that are anchoring you, I guess, the beliefs, but when we think, no, I can't change this, this is how it is, I am a prisoner to it, I can't get out of this one. Can we? Is there always a way?
I would hesitate to say that always, but I would definitely say you can always make improvements to the situation. Always. We've heard about, I keep going back to Dr. Gedney, life in prison for 30 years. That could be a really nasty situation, or it can be a great situation, depending on where your mindset is. And really, all we have to change in the beginning is our mindset. Until we change our mindset, nothing else changes. What's coming to mind right now is the thermostat. So, you set a thermostat in your house to, in Canada, 21 degrees. Well, the temperature can go up and up and up, but that thermostat kicks in to bring it back down to the 21. And similarly, if things change on the other side, thermostat kicks back up, heats it to that 21, because that's where that set point is. And that's very similar to us inside ourselves, our values, our beliefs that are temporarily set. Until we identify that our values and our beliefs that are the set point, really, it's our own subconscious that's going to bring us right back to that set point.
It is. I love that about the set point. I started using the word standard a while back as opposed to, boundaries, because sometimes my beliefs, let's say, about myself and what I can do, I don't want to call it a boundary, like, I can't go this further, it's more of a standard, like I want to go to this, that thermostat set, and how big a role does other people's thermostat set play in our lives, and how do we let go of them? Like if our mom thinks that our school teachers have taught us something in school, or our boss teaches us something, can we change theirs?
I don't believe we can change theirs. I don't believe that's actually our business to change theirs. We can be influencers, and, if we care about other people, then absolutely we'll want to have some sort of influence to help them have a better life, but I don't think it's our business to change other people. In fact, I've tried. I've tried changing other people. And, it doesn't work. Hasn't worked so far.
Haven't we all? And you know what? I remember the first time learning that I didn't have to change their mind, their beliefs about anything. Oh my gosh, the freedom. Like Actually, it's funny you write about freedom, but I feel like, oh, thank God that's not my job. I don't have to worry about it. It's kind of stress relieving at the same time.
Absolutely. And you've just triggered something else in my mind here regarding expectations. Now, I've been married to the same wonderful guy for 15 years.
Yay.
And, yeah, awesome. Yay, me. But something I learned not too far long ago is that, you know, if I believe that I can change someone, then I'm also setting certain expectations of behavior. I set expectations of it comes down to that person fulfilling the expectations in me.
Right.
So, as an example, you know, intimate relationships for sure. You know, we can have the expectation that that person is going to fill for us all the love needs that we need. You know, fill that empty spot inside of us. But what I've learned is it's actually up to me to fill in that love spot inside of me. It's not going to be another person. And as long as I'm expecting another person to fill that inside me, it's just going to be like a black pit that just is needy, deeply needy. And it's something that's never going to be fulfilled.
And nobody feels good being a needy person. Like, it's so disempowering.
Absolutely. And that's the whole thing, is because we're looking to the wrong thing to fill up the need. And so it's never ever satisfied. And that was the case for me, is never ever feeling satisfied. Now, why can't I feel good? Why can't I feel happy? Why can't I feel what I want to feel? Well, I was looking to the wrong things to fill that empty hole.
You have a really neat thing that you write about. I don't want to call it a system. I don't know how to define it as, but you have this be, do, have kind of philosophy, and that's how we satisfy our needs, I think. And could you share that, what that is about your be, do, and have? I love it.
I know. I love that. It's number one on my lessons learned there. And I certainly didn't make that up on my own. The first time I heard that was from one of my mentors named Blair Singer. And I know he heard it from somewhere else too. It's ancient wisdom. And so let's just look at the opposite side. So right now, a lot of society looks at it the other way around. It's that when I have the certain things that I want to have, well, that's when I'm going to do what I need to do, and that's when I'm going to feel what I want to feel. Right? When I have the right house, when I have the right job, I'll feel happy. When I have a certain salary, I will feel happy. When I have the right relationship, then things are going to be good for me. But it's not the other way around. And that is one of the major keys to where things really change for me, is in stopping looking for the wrong things to fill me up. Stop looking for the haves. Instead, it was about me changing my mind. It was about me taking responsibility for my own self-esteem, my self-love, my self-worth, being the kind of person that's going to go and do the things I need to do so that I can ultimately have what I want to have.
I love that. And I just have to highlight that, stop looking for the haves. Like, you know, we'll step back in life and go, well, I have this and this and this. Because honestly, a lot of people can look and think, well, I have this and this, but I'm still not happy. And you're really showing us that, just because your chapter really is, you know, and you're supporting your program, you know, Kiss Your Boss Goodbye, we can sit back and say, well, at least I have a job. But how much can it really truly harm us and kill us to stay in a job that's, we have it, but we're not fulfilled?
Well, and that's the thing, is having the job and having the things, often that comes with a price, right? We have the big house, so now we've also got the big mortgage. And we have the nice car, so we've got the great payment. And so now we've got all this debt hanging over our head for stuff that we're actually not getting much enjoyment from anymore. And now we're stuck to this job that's not fulfilling our soul. So what a catch-22 that is.
Yes.
And I used to think that I wanted a great big house, but I really don't like housework. So.
Yes, that's exactly why I'm always like, oh, no, not that big. That's a lot of work that I'm either not going to do or have to pay somebody to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you're alluding to is the golden handcuffs.
Yes.
And, sorry, I've got some trucks outside. Hopefully you can't hear that.
No, that's fine.
But, but the golden handcuffs are really our attachment to, well, in this case, a job that no longer fulfills us. But we stay there because the big paycheck and the pension and the benefits, which we need. Yeah, we absolutely need.
Yeah.
But at what cost? And, if we're still miserable now and waiting for retirement, well, retirement may not actually come. So what about getting to a situation where you're happy now?
Yeah. This is the one life. And you actually coach people on this. Can you share with people how you help people to do that, to get free from those golden handcuffs of whichever, whether it's career or financial relationship?
You bet, absolutely. So the first thing is, I don't encourage people to quit their job. Really what we want to find out is what is really that thing that is going to fill that void for you. So maybe for you it's not quitting your job. Maybe it is responsibility for your self-esteem and your self-love and self-care. Maybe you're burning the candle at both ends. Or perhaps one thing I like to talk about is values. Dr. John DeMartini talks about this a lot. And personal values, fulfilling our own for ourselves, is what brings the deepest happiness. Mm. But what I'm finding is that many people are still living the values of someone else. They're living the values of mom and dad. They're living the values of the corporation that might be violating their own personal values.
Yeah.
And so there's conflict there. Mm. That's one of the reasons why I needed to quit my job was it got to a point where I could no longer compromise my values for what I was being asked to do.
Yeah. You're using such strong words, and I love them because the word violated and having to compromise. I mean, I've just got goosebumps everywhere. Those words are so jumping out, and how many of us see. When you said values, I was like, yeah, a lot of people aren't even sure what their values are because they have compromised as much, or they're just not allowed to bring them up and show them. And so I love that you help and coach people to do that and find people. First of all, yes, now we know they can go to tracyrickards.com to read your blog, but is that how they reach you as well?
Oh, I'm on Facebook. I didn't say 24/7, but maybe 20 out of 7.
Yes, you're there. Yes, and Rickards, Rickards. So I want to make sure everybody knows Tracy Rickards. And I do welcome you. Everybody should pick up a book that you. Is this your first chapter in a book?
It's the first one published.
Oh, okay.
And that's how I actually ended up in this book. To start with, was I started writing Kiss Your Boss Goodbye, which ended up being a monumental task.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't getting done. Now I've got 14 chapters and lots of detail. And when I got some feedback on this, essentially I've got the beginnings of 3 different books. And it's no wonder it wasn't getting done right.
You should write 3 books at once. A lot of people do. So everybody should start with your chapter. So they're picking up Obstacles Equal Opportunities, Volume 2. They're going to read Tracy Rickards, and then they're going to contact you and go to your site and find you on Facebook.
Find me on Facebook.
Yay! Well, thank you so much, Tracy. You can understand the line. We're going to join.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization Their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millisers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance. Say hi, guys. When I adopted them, I discovered that they both have incredible personalities. Chance's sole purpose in life is to love and to be loved. Frankie is a little bit of a scoundrel and always entertaining. They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
Welcome back, everyone, to the second half of Light on Living, where we are interviewing the co-authors of Obstacles Equal Opportunities, Volume 2. And this is really journeys that these authors have gone through to find out how to create success in their lives. And I had to ask the question earlier, is who is living without success in your life? And when I say life, there's so many categories, there's so many areas, and it can be corporate, your work and your job, as we just were sharing there with Tracy, and as well as Karen prior to. But we've got Leslie. Leslie Tremblay is here to share with us just about success. You know what, it can start in relationships, but it really touches every part of our lives because it comes from inner love, inner compassion, and inner caring. So I've got Leslie with us, but what I'm going to do is just read a little bit about Leslie so we can share, see what she's been up to, what she's doing. So it's Leslie Tremblay, and Leslie's ambition and education have been her pathway to achieving a rewarding career as a professional administrator. She is a lifelong learner with an ongoing desire to investigate the more intrinsic qualities in life and what makes us who we become. She continuously steps outside of her comfort zone, something I don't like to do, both professionally and personally, knowing that this is the only way one grows. Her passions include travel, family, community service, and inspiring others to become better versions of themselves through guidance in personal and professional advancement development. I really got all three of these incredible ones together to help you guys with this. Her greatest accomplishment was at the age of 42 when she gave birth to her son, Dominic. Leslie never gave up trying to be a mom. Along with her husband, she teaches her son how to become the best person he can be. Leslie says about balance and not giving up on her dreams. And we're gonna bring Leslie on right now. Welcome, Leslie, to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, I know you really are, and I loved your chapter. I love them. I love all these chapters. When we read the stories and what challenges, obstacles that other people go through to turn them into opportunities, it really does help us. And so, thank you, first of all.
It's such a fantastic opportunity to be able to do this.
Oh, it is. And, with yours, it's so funny because you do talk about professional and personal. And I do want to jump on that one little thing. Comfort zone. Oh, I wish that word didn't start with a Z. It just scares me already. I look at it and go, oh, no, I want to be here. Why are we, if growth is what's on the other side of our comfort zone, why are we so nervous and afraid to go out of it?
I think it's really out of fear. We're comfortable in our comfort zone, and that's why they call it getting out of your comfort zone. If you want to actually to grow and to learn something new, you do have to forcefully get yourself out sometimes. But really, it is absolutely necessary if you want to achieve bigger and better things in your life.
It is. And so we want bigger and better things for our lives. Did you ever feel, what was the biggest obstacle that you felt was in your way or could get in your way when you wanted that bigger and better thing and you knew you had to get there?
I guess if I can relate it back to the story, it was really a personal relationship that really got in my way, and the funny thing is, I got in my own way with holding myself back from asking for what I want out of life, being afraid to, say this is what I'm looking for, this is what I want, and for really just letting somebody else drive the ship, if we could use that. And so until I was able to say, hey, this is what I want out of life in general, and I'm not going to be able to get it where I'm at right now, so I'm just going to have to go out there and find it.
Right. It's almost like you're cautious about your comfort zone because you just like, I can't. It's actually painful to stay in it in a weird way.
Oh yeah, it was definitely painful to stay where I was at. I neglected to listen to myself, what my gut was telling me, what my instincts or intuition was telling me, and it was a really big stumbling block for me until I could actually say, hey, you know what, I'm not happy here, and we need to move on to do something else. It was an incredibly painful process to go through, but also necessary and ultimately worth it in the end for where I'm at right now.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that, because people right now are listening and they're saying, is it worth it? Like, okay, so here's one line that you kind of wrote in the chapter, and I thought, and I want to ask you what you thought about it, because people are in this situation right now. When other people tell us, or we tell ourselves, just to hang in there.
Yes.
Wow, gosh, that's a tough one.
We are doing ourselves a disservice and the rest of the world a disservice if we decide to actually stay. Within that relationship, I was just thinking, man, this guy's got so much potential, and I can help him get there. But not really realizing that, you know what, it's not my job. I'm not a rehab center, and it's not my job to actually fix this person. That's really on him. And if I want to get somewhere else, well, I'm going to have to do something different.
So that's kind of interesting to hear that about when usually when we hear it from other people, so well, hang in there, it's because we're waiting for something else to change. Somebody else, something.
And we have no control on anybody else.
Right. And gosh, you think that we can, because then it leads me to, well, if we're inspiring and uplifters and motivating to others, do you think that we're coming from a place that we want to change and fix them, or we just want to offer something to be a light?
I think it's probably both. I think as women, we're nurturers.
Right.
And, we really want to, help somebody along in their journey. And sometimes it's really not our place to be able to do that. We really have to look within to say, hey, you know what? I'm not happy where I'm at. I'm 100% responsible for where I am at and for my own happiness. But if you're not where you're at, then that's your job to fix it.
Right.
Not anybody else.
It's funny because both Tracy, Tracy, we just had her on, Tracy Rickards, and she was saying, it's always, it comes back to ourselves. And I love that you differentiated between the difference between nurturing and fixing someone. I love to highlight that. Anybody right now, if you are not quite sure which you're doing, you can nurture, you can have compassion, you can support, but not fix.
That's right. I nurture my 5-year-old son. I don't need to fix an adult.
Oh, right. Oh, you put it in a kid's perspective. My gosh, that just totally extra light bright that. I love it. You shared this was, I wrote down for you that it was easy to write but hard to share. And you chose to write though. It was, I want to write this out, and was it therapeutic for you to write it out and just say you're going to stop there?
It was incredibly therapeutic for me to write it out. I put it on paper. I had the courage to hit submit on the email. I sent in my story, and then I didn't want to tell anybody that I did it. And that really comes from fear of judgment from others. What are my family and friends going to think? What if somebody doesn't read it, and then the next thing that pops in is, oh my God, what if somebody actually reads it? So you're getting vulnerable with your story, but the hopes really are that you can become an inspiration or be able to empower somebody in some way to make that move when they're feeling stuck.
All right. guys, if somebody right now is out there and they're like, gosh, they're just driven to write their story too, but they're in that same place. They're just their comfort zone. They're like, well, I haven't written it. Nobody knows it yet, so maybe I'll just stay here. What could you share with them that would encourage them to just safely feel safe about is it right if it's right for them to write it out?
I would say just journal it out. To start off with, anyways, whether you publish it or not, that's a different thing. Whether you want to share your story or not. But after, probably about 10 days ago, I had written a post, and the post was on Facebook, and it was in reference to a response to somebody else's passion project. So I was listening to her video. She really inspired me to do something, and I wrote a little post on a story that I had no intention of ever telling. And what it actually has led into is a request to write in somebody else's book, and this has to do with infertility and pregnancy laws. And I decided I should do that, and it's not a story I had ever intended to tell anybody. It's one of those stories that only a handful of people actually know. But again, I'm hoping that someone will be able to read my story and be inspired somehow to be able to move on with their challenge that they may be facing.
And I know that you will write that chapter and people will have to get that book. And right now we are talking about Obstacles Equal Opportunities, Volume 2. But if you could just share, because it's right in your bio too, that, you have a beautiful son, and that was a wonderful thing that that's a big part of your life. Why is that even more so, do you think, for you, valuable?
The value, really I went through, many, many years of not having him, and I thought I was going to end up being a crazy fat lady, to be honest, at one point in time. And then the universe was just really a beautiful thing. And, after my marriage had failed, I was married 14 years. We weren't able to have children. And then I met my love, Frederick, and we ended up, we were together for probably about a year and a half, and lo and behold, I find myself that I'm actually pregnant, which was an amazing thing, and it just makes, considering that I thought that I was broken with my first marriage, because now, there's extra kids in the world because of this.
Right.
So there's two beautiful souls in the world now because, the marriage between myself and my ex didn't actually work out.
I love that. That's it's kind of like we get to jump. This is what's the best part about reading stories and hearing about stories, that we get to jump to what is a possible future outcome for me. If anybody listening, they're in something, they're like, gosh, I'm really, this is hurting me about this situation in my life, or this is causing me to really feel like I'm not living authentically. Like, you really wanted to be a mom, and hear those words. And I love that you said that. You get to hear that title and being called that. It's a feeling, and when you can share with others, that it can totally change. I think there's a part that we have to love ourselves and know that we're worth it. And you have to share. I called it the panty story. I don't think it's called the panty story, but I have to tell you, I would love for you to share that story, what it means, because, oh my gosh, I used to, so and some people used to be, upset or whatever, they wanted to treat themselves, they go and have maybe some food, or they would buy something inexpensive. But I used to always go buy a new pair of panties because I could always afford them, a couple bucks, right? That's right. Yeah. And I ended up with this drawer full, hundreds, because I must have felt bad, I guess. I go underwear shopping. But can you share, because there's a really good lesson in that. Can you share that experience just about the pretty panties?
Of course I can. It's called the power of underwear, or what I commonly refer to it as the power of underwear. So the underwear it has power on you. You look good, you feel good. Nobody else has to know that it's that you have it on. You know what's under your clothes, but it actually makes you walk differently. You walk into a room taller. It's your little secret. You know what you have, and somebody else doesn't actually know that it's there. So look good, feel good, for sure. And start with the underwear.
Yeah, I just love that. Start with the underwear, and just everybody, if you'd like to read this, I would love for you to read this. And I'm not spoiling this, but I love when you mentioned, as you handed over the credit card, knowing you had that face like, oh my God, this is going to be a big one. But sometimes when we splurge, and it doesn't have to be financially if that's not what we have, but a splurge on yourself really goes a long way.
It does. It just shows you know what, you're worth it, and you should do it. Absolutely.
Yes, I just thought that was so neat. This is because it's a personal thing. I was like, oh gosh, so your chapter of all chapters so far, really talked about, which is my original program is dating your diet. So I talk about dating. I love the love story. I think the love story really comes across in yours because you were in search of your love story.
Yes, I made a list.
Oh,
this is the type of person. Or not the type of person, really. These are the attributes I want this person to have. And when he came along, I found it actually a couple of years ago, and I went, wow, look at this. You're checking off just about all the boxes here. Unknowingly, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so so you believe in lists. It's actually neat. So I wonder, when we have a list, and if we don't get it, does that mean we just stop there, or are you do you have a little bit of leeway on the list? Should we have a leeway with our list?
I think so. I think as you grow, your list is going to change. Right? What we want right now is probably different than what we wanted 2 years ago. And you're going to be working through your own mindset and working through your own limiting beliefs and fears and things like that. So you grow, which means your list is going to change. So continuously update it to say, hey, this is what I'm actually looking for.
Right.
I guarantee it's not going to be the same list you wrote 2 years ago.
Work with yourself first. Yeah. You have a quote here, and I like it. You either get bitter or you get better. I think it says, okay, first I have to read the rest, but I just love that so much. You either get bitter or you get better. It's that simple. You either take what has been dealt to you and allow it to make you a better person, or you allow it to tear you down. The choice does not belong to fate. It belongs to you. And that was Josh Shipp, 2-piece that you did. Oh my gosh. I love that you shared that. That's like, if everybody could just do that, right?
Have the courage to make a decision, make a choice, and you know what, if you find out it's not the right one, that make a different one.
Yeah. And I love your tools that you give us to get distracted. You make this the funniest line you say, and you go, you call it the ugly face cry. And everybody's got to know that, the ugly face cry. It's just, you scrunch everything up. Is there something that's released when we do that? Cry and just, get it out.
Yeah. I think we're just trying to get all the bad energy out and just release it. And that's one way of, definitely one way of doing it. It's probably a good, healthy way of doing it for sure.
Yeah. It's kind of like a surrender. Like, all right, this is my real picture. This is what I'm in. But and you have a couple of things. There's like, never give up and be grateful. How do you express your gratitude every day?
Every day I express my gratitude. I have something that I say every day. And, it's really around, I'm grateful for Dominic. I'm grateful for Frederick. I'm grateful for my family and friends. I'm grateful for the job that I have. I'm grateful for all these things in my life because they brought me to exactly where I am today. And I'm good. I'm happy. I'm happy with where I'm at. And I think gratitude is probably the biggest lesson that I got out of life in general.
Attitude.
The attitude of gratitude. And I think we just have to look at, maybe today's not an awesome day, but there's always going to be something that you can pull out of the day to say, today this made me happy. I go to, whenever I drop Dominic off at school on our ride there, I'm like, hey, what's going to make you happy today? And he tells me he's usually playing with his friends. And then when I pick him up, I'm like, hey, what actually made you happy today? What did you do? He tells me what he's happy about for the day.
That is so neat. You do it before and after. It's like we're, laying it out like, okay, this is, and sometimes if we can't think of a lot, we can even just not make it up, but you know what I mean? Like try to go, okay, well, this could make me happy if this, happens.
That's right. Yeah, you're laying your groundwork for the day. But, you might as well start off your day with a good note. Hey, today's going to be a great day. And that's one of the things that I had to do when I was actually going through all the challenges that I was, that I wrote about in the book. It's really about, okay, I'm going to get up and today's going to be a fabulous day. I'm setting myself up for that, so that the universe and the energy can actually dictate that. Right?
Yeah. I love it. You're setting yourself up and attitude. As I'm just highlighting this for the people that are listening in and saying, okay, yeah, because if you literally wake up and you're like, oh, here's that other day I got to face, and I've got this issue. Like, you still have those issues, maybe at the time, like, conditions that are going on. But you've got to have this kind of attitude where, like you said, gratitude. But how about when we talk about being vulnerable? I mean, that's an attitude where how vulnerable do we have to be if we're already kind of struggling with our attitude?
I guess that depends upon the situation itself, but, telling stories about your life and the power of story has that vulnerability piece to it, and it connects people together. And there's power in groups, right? I'm not the only person who's gone through this in my life. I know it, right? But putting it out there and just saying, hey, I'm having a rough time right now. Somebody else is going to more than likely have gone through it and be able to lend you that support. Or you could be that person to lend somebody else.
Yes, yeah. You shared with me that when you first, we're going to share with your friends that you were going to write a chapter, or maybe that you said, so you wrote it and then you said, I wrote a chapter. A lot of people expected you to write about a different challenge, a different topic, a different success. I find that so interesting. Did you feel, as a personal question, when you heard that, and probably heard it over and over, did you second guess yourself on which chapter, like what topic you did write about?
No, not at all. Not at all. No. I'm in a unique position for the company that I work for, and that I think people's assumption is, oh, you're writing about your job. That definitely wasn't what I was writing about. So some people were surprised to actually see, what I did write about, and I had people come to me and say, wow, congratulations for being so vulnerable. This is not what I had expected your story to be about.
And so when they say that, I didn't expect it to be, do you feel like they do want you to they want to know about it now? Do you like, oh, are you guys interested in that story? Like, is that giving you an idea?
Maybe it'll be another book. I don't know.
It was like you said, easy to write but hard to share. And I remember when we were talking, it's like, here you weren't quite sure, not which to go, but it's really snowballed into. So now you've got this. You're going to be writing opportunity in the other book about the pregnancy. Do you feel like your quote unquote where your advocacy stands? Like, will you coach differently? Will you work differently? Will you inspire differently?
I will. And I mean, the more things that I learn, the more things I can actually bring, definitely bring to my team. Being the lead of, some professional planners and schedulers, I have to be on my game to be able to provide support to them so that they can be the best at their job. And a lot of that is going into some of that life coaching activity. And, leadership skills and life coaching activities are very similar. Right, the questions that you're going to be asking, how you're going to empower somebody, they're very, very similar.
Oh, I like that. What are some of the things that you do use? Like, you give us one tip of something that you do, brand new employee, let's say, or somebody on your team, brand new, and you just meet them for the first time. Do you dive deep right away, or where's the first step that you go with them to support them and reach out and connect?
Really, what I do is I get to know them as a person. I want to know, what type of person that they are, because that will dictate how I actually interact with them. And one of the big things that I have with people is, our expectations of everybody is build those good relationships. This will help you in your job. This will actually help you in your life, right? Be able to network and be able to build those positive relationships, and that will keep you very well.
I love that you said that, get to know them and build relationships. I have to commend you on saying that, because I have this really big thing with no struggle. It's just a thing that I just think of it differently with Facebook, because sometimes we just think like a heart or a like, a thumbs up, which we certainly appreciate them. They're nice and they help, with all the search and all that stuff. But get to know people and asking them and having comments and seeing what they're feeling and how, and I love that you said that how you interact them is really going to depend on when you get to them, like what would they like? Like, and that's what building a relationship is.
Yes. How do they like to be led? Allows me to know how to lead them, because not everybody is the same.
Oh my gosh, that's gorgeous. How they like to be led. Oh, let's Exactly. I love that. And that will dictate how you lead. Oh, my goodness. And that's actually coming down to like the languages of love. Which do we speak and who needs what? And, you know, oh, that was just beautiful. Well, so do you have an invitation to people? Do you want people to reach out to you? And for what reason? Like, yes, get the book. We love Obstacles, Equal Opportunities, Volume 2. But do you want to take it a step further with people?
You know, people can actually contact me. Probably the best way to contact me if they have any questions, they want to talk about the book, anything else, through my Facebook page, which is Leslie Trombley author. I made it nice and simple.
Oh, good. Yes, we like that.
Yeah. Just to reach out and touch base, and I'd be happy to touch base. Build some relationships, right?
Yes. So, yes, an invitation has been sent to you guys right now about building relationships. And I want to just highlight that Leslie is really fantastic at people who are, you know, suddenly finding themselves out of a long-term relationship. And where do they start? Are they single now? Do they date? Do they, you know, still have hope? You know, or also you're helping people to if they, you know, pregnancy and pregnancy loss. And when can that book be? What can we expect to see that from you, that chapter?
That chapter is really about, you know, again, I became a mom at 42, so I'm an older mama, you know, so that comes into that infertility piece. And then there was, you know, a loss along the way as well, which was incredibly painful. But again, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all of the challenges that I've come across because they've made me into who I am today. And I like me.
And I like me.
I like being.
I love that.
I like being impactful, and you know, and I know that I'm making a difference in this world in a positive way.
Oh. Well, Leslie, thank you so much for being a part of this series. It's, you know, if people, I'm going to invite you again to Leslie Trombley. She's a co-author in Obstacles, Equal Opportunities, Volume 2. It's compiled by Heather Andrews. Reach out to her on Facebook. You know, if you want to start liking you and you want to get out of your comfort zone and feel good, then just, reach out to Leslie. And thank you so much for being here with us. I just love having you all.
Thank you very much. It's been an amazing experience.
Oh, okay. Well, everybody, you make sure you tune in next Monday. That's July 15th, and we're starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, everybody, thanks so much. It's Light on Living, Lisa Berry. Bye.